Theme of Romance Talk today is loneliness and the fear of abandonment during the holidays.
Jason had found the woman of his dreams. He was texting back and forth with her after he found her on a dating site. And they were making such a connection. The feelings were starting to grow. It was magnetic. He felt like the person was right next to him, even though she lived on the other side of the country. At some point, he started to confess feelings for her, and she confessed that she had feelings for him as well. Jason went to work on Monday with an extra pep in his step. Finally, he didn't feel so lonely. Finally, he felt like he was really experiencing connection. There was a vibe and energy between he and this woman, and it was improving his life. He was feeling happier, more self-worth, more self-esteem. Many experts on trauma and recovery talk about the importance of connection. I am here today to talk to you about the unimportance of connection. The reason I put it that way is because it has been overinflated as if connection is the key to healing your trauma. And so when we hear that, we think, well, then I just need to find a man that's big and strong or a woman that is nice and soft. And then when we are next to each other, we're going to feel this connection. Or when we're sharing a bed, we're going to feel this connection. Or when we're texting or talking on the phone together, when we're having this emotional interchange, we're going to feel this connection. When I have connection, then I'm going to be healed from my trauma. But that's not really accurate, and that's not really true. And it's a disservice for you to believe that that is actually the case. And I'm going to explain why. Many feel that the connection doesn't have to be romantic, but the connection still has to exist. So you got to get connected to family, or you got to get connected to friends. But is that really scientifically accurate? Is there something mystical that happens? Is there some energy force that occurs when we're connected with another human being? Something that will lift us up out of our depression. It seemed to be working well for Jason. That was until she started asking for money. And Jason realized that the woman that he had fallen in love with and had been talking to for months was actually a man in Nigeria who was talking to 100 other men, sending the same pictures. Jason had fallen for a scam. This happens to people all the time. In fact, if you've fallen for a scam, you don't have to feel ashamed, but I do want you to examine how is it that Jason was feeling connected when he was talking to someone who wasn't even the same gender of what he was looking for? How is it that he actually thought he was feeling a connection? Could it be that this scenario actually wasn't creating a mystical, energetic connection? Could it be that the connection Jason was feeling was due to a perception in his own mind? You see, he felt connected because he believed he was connected. He felt connected because he believed that he was talking to the woman in the pictures. And so he created a construct in his mind of what was actually happening. And that construct was making him feel good because it was aligning with who he was as a person. It was aligning with his values. He believed that it was important for him to have a partner like that. And when he thought he had that partner, he felt connected. He felt valuable. He felt validated. And all of that made him feel good. But it was really a mirage. Connection is a perception. Whether or not you feel connected to people is due largely to the perception of your mind, not due to the physical circumstance. Loneliness is not a physical condition. You are not lonely because you don't have people around. Because just someone commented just to me the other day, they said, Well, I'm married now and I feel more lonely than ever. This isn't uncommon. Loneliness is not a physical condition. It is an emotional one. Even more so, it is a mental one. If you're taking notes, please note that loneliness occurs when you perceive yourself as inadequate, when you perceive your condition of being alone in your house or without a partner, you view that as inadequate. When you view you being by yourself as inadequate, as unacceptable, then you feel a sensation inside your body, and that sensation hurts. And we say, I feel so lonely. But what's really doing the loneliness? Is it really because we don't have a man? No. It's because we're perceiving that it's unacceptable for us to be in that condition, right? Absolutely. We're perceiving that it's unacceptable because when you actually are running away from people, when you're tired of people, when people are taking too much from you and you're becoming exhausted of the people, and you need to be alone or you need some privacy, maybe you need to take a shower, you need to do some grooming. You don't feel lonely when you finally get away from people because loneliness is not a physical condition. Likewise, you may have had experiences where you actually were with friends or surrounded by a lot of people, but you still felt alone. You can be in a club or at a party and everyone's but they're all just so shallow, or you don't feel like you're relating to them. And so you're like, man, I feel like I don't connect with these people. Well, why? They feel connected to you. Why do they feel connected to you, but you don't feel connected to them? Because the connection is not a real thing. It is a perception of the mind. They're perceiving that you're connected. You're perceiving that they're knuckleheads and you can't wait to get home. Your feelings will match your perceptions. So if you feel like you would like to be alone and then you finally get alone, you feel relieved, you don't feel lonely. You feel happy. And if you feel like you would like to be around people and then you're not around people and you look around and there's no one around, your perception of your situation is that that's unacceptable. This is an inadequate, that I am by myself, and you get the pain of loneliness. And then we just like to take it further, don't we? We like to really bury ourselves in it. We say, you know what? You're alone like this because there's something inadequate about you. And we just pick something. We go for our worst, our biggest weakness, our worst insecurity. We say, it's your hair. Your hair is just the worst. Or you know what it is? It's that you gained weight. Or you know what it is? It's that you smell bad. Or you know what it is? It's that you're not smart. You're not interesting. You're not funny. And we just go after ourselves, right? Well, let's pause for a moment. As we do this, which is, by the way, self-bullying, it's self-abuse, because now we're speaking to ourselves in a way that we would never talk to another person because we know it's abusive. So we have to learn to stop abusing ourselves. But as you do that, you're creating a stronger and stronger negative perception in the brain, which is creating a stronger and stronger negative sensation in the body. Let's stop making ourselves feel lonely and making ourselves feel like we're not connected. This is especially common. I get people who reach out around the holidays and they say, how do I get past this? I'm feeling seasonal depression, or I'm feeling really loneliness around the holiday times. And it comes down to the perceptions of the mind. I would invite you, if you're listening right now, to think about some of the perceptions that you might be having about your situation that may cause you to feel alone. They say, yeah, I'm feeling lonely because I feel like, how did I end up in this situation? How is it that I don't have any family that I can spend the holidays with? In many cases, I would advise the person does well to actually answer that question. Because the reason you don't have anyone to spend the holidays with is not actually because there's no one that's willing to spend the holidays with you. But you've convinced yourself that that's what it is, but that's not actually what's happening. It's actually that you've recognized that certain people in your life were toxic and you've gotten rid of them. That's the truth. What you've actually done is you pushed out your mom or your dad or your ex or the kids. You push these people away from you because you're recognizing they are toxic. They are stressing me out, and that's not good for my mental health. So you actually feel better when you're at distance from them. But now the holidays come along, and we have a perception around the holidays, perhaps. Perhaps you grew up celebrating the holidays in your culture. So you're thinking these holidays, they are everything. And they're all about family. And family is the most important thing. And then you're again with the extreme thoughts that are going to lead you to the extreme emotions. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, nobody's celebrating that same holiday. They don't even know it exists. They're just going about their life. It's just a normal day for them. The holiday that is so important to you in your country, in your state where you're living, this is everything. On the other side of the world, they don't even know that this is even happening right now. You know why? Because the holiday is a social construct. It is not real. And I was talking to a client and they said, yes, I did the JOT method when I was feeling alone over Thanksgiving. Then I realized there's just a day. It's just another day. And then when I did that, I actually felt better. Yes, we need to use logic. Don't go back to a childhood fantasy version of what's going on in the world around you with this perception in your mind, like in every other house on our block, there's families and they're all gathered around a warmly lit, candlelit dinner, and they're holding hands and they're saying grace and they're singing songs. We don't need to fool ourselves of things that are not true. 50% of Americans are single. We don't need to make ourselves believe that we are alone and we are the only ones. Don't make yourself think that the reason why you're not celebrating the holidays is because you're rejected and nobody wants you. That's not true. That's not even true. In most cases, it's actually that we decided that some of the people who would probably want to be around us, we don't want to be around them. Don't forget that. You filed for the divorce. Don't forget that. You initiated the separation. Don't forget that. You had good reason to pull away from mom and dad. Don't forget that. You're in control. You are in a position of power. Many of us deal with a fear of abandonment. Abandonment fear can just lead us into a world of problems because we're so busy trying to keep everyone around. We go as far as to become a people pleaser, and we're just putting on a false self, and we're yeah, anything, you guys need anything, and we're just going, and we're just a human doing instead of a human being trying to just maintain these relationships because we're so afraid of being alone, perhaps on a holiday, of not having these people. But abandonment is not something we should fear. Abandonment is actually something that we should embrace, even crave. I'm going to give this to you again. Abandonment is not something to fear. It is something to crave. Now, why would you need to crave abandonment? Go with me. You tell me, why is it good to actually crave abandonment? I asked someone yesterday the same question. It's a stumper. Why is it good to crave abandonment? How is that more healthy? But then I asked this question. I said, how many people in your life would you say are abusive or neglectful or toxic in some type of ways? She said probably about 60%. Bingo. Now, why is abandonment a good thing? Because 60% of the people around you are bad for you. It would actually, they'd be doing you a favor if they would just leave. Embrace that. 60% of the people around you fall into a category of either being neglectful, abusive, narcissistic, egopathic, users, liars, manipulators, traitors, just toxic on some level. And it would be a good thing if they would just go, because then they spare you the unpleasantry of having to pull them out of your life or remove yourself from the situation. It would actually be a good thing if they would just leave. Don't fear abandonment, embrace abandonment, crave abandonment. What happens when we do this? If you crave abandonment, all of a sudden you can drop the false self. You can drop the fake face. You can walk into a situation, lean back on the couch, put your feet up on the coffee table. Give me your best. What are you going to do if I come and I am my absolute self and I don't try to please you at all? And they say to you, Mari, do you want to help? Do you want to help in the kitchen? The ladies are in the kitchen. You'd be like, nah, I'm good. Just sit out here with the guys and just exist. That's the level of bravery that you tap into when you embrace abandonment. You want your family to tell you, you are just too much. We're not inviting you to the next gathering. You say, oh, thank goodness, yes. I do not want to be a part of these things. Being by yourself is not a punishment. Being by yourself is a prize. Nobody can treat you as good as you can treat you. Nobody understands you the way you understand you. And you've got a lot of stuff to do. You got to pursue your purpose. You got to take care of your physical self. You got to groom. You have to exercise. You need to meditate. You need to pray. You got a lot of stuff that you need to be alone to do. And when you're around all these people all the time, they're crowding your space, which then makes you less happy because you can't care for the things that actually make you happy. Most of the things that actually make you happy, true happiness, come from being alone. The meditation is key. The gratitude from your meditation is key. The prayer, the spirituality is key. The working on your purpose is key. The grooming yourself and the taking care of yourself is key. The exercise is key. You need to be alone to do a lot of this stuff. You need time. So embrace the rejection. Show up, be yourself. Don't be afraid that someone's going to abandon you. Hope for it. And if they don't, well, all well. You're just surrounded by a whole bunch of friends and family. But half of those people you're going to have to cut out of your life anyway. And that's just an inconvenience to you. A lot of times as children, we fear abandonment because we had to abandon ourselves. If we grew up with a parent that was egopathic, really sucked all the energy out of the room, made us feel like we couldn't let them down, we couldn't displease them. So we spent so much time, so much energy trying to please them that we actually lost ourselves. And so that's where you get that fake self, that false self that you developed in childhood, just trying to be pleasing to a parent and never learning to just be yourself. If that's something you went through, I'm sorry. But it's important for us to recognize now we have a responsibility to clean up our mental mess. And so if we learned because of the harshness of our parents to be this abandoner of ourselves, this shell of ourselves, now's the time to come back into that shell, to inhabit ourselves and to learn to be ourselves, to learn to embrace our own values and stand up for what we truly believe in. It's natural that a child fears abandonment, and that's where we got the program to fear abandonment. I remember how it felt as a child to get lost from your parents. It happened to me probably more than once. I remember one particular time I was about 4 years old. We were at a festival, and it was just a small little community village fest. But to a 4-year-old, this might as well have been Lollapalooza, because this was just terrifying. I looked up and I could not find my parents. I remember I had a little toy in my hand. And emotionally, I was wrecked because as a child, that's it. Somebody leaves you, abandons you, you're gonna be in big trouble. You don't know how to fend for yourself. You're vulnerable, and so you get this program in childhood. I can't get left behind. If you get left at Target as a kid, you feel like your life may be over. That's a life or death situation. Well, what if you get left at Target as an adult? That's like a dream come true for many of us. Oh, Target, that's my favorite store. You could leave me there anytime, right? The perspective is different. Why? You're not afraid to get left at a store as an adult because you are an adult now. The rules are different. You have access to resources. You can defend yourself. You can call an Uber. You can call a Lyft. You can call a taxi. You can take a bus. You can call a friend. You can walk. You can ride a bike. You can rent bikes in a lot of cities, right? You're fine. You're not afraid to be abandoned as an adult. So take a moment and just meditate. Close your eyes and recognize yourself as a full-grown adult, the same size as the other adults, and recognize that you're not that child anymore. To be abandoned by some of the adults you know is not detrimental to you. It just simplifies your life and gives you the ability to spend time on what's truly important. And in time, you will attract a new tribe. Picture yourself standing there alone. And as months pass by, and you're pursuing your purpose, more people start to become attracted to you. But now what's different, because you're so authentic, the connections are authentic. And as you come out of this meditation, feel the power right in the center of your chest. The power of the full-grown adults who can defend herself, who can find a way home. They can leave. They can abandon. It's okay. It's not the same anymore, right? We need to work on that fear of abandonment by doing meditations just like this. We don't have to be afraid. One person in the comments said I would still be afraid at first if somebody left me at Target. That's because you got to work on that. You got to work on that sense of independence. It's a good thing. You like that store. Now you can finally shop without having to worry about what other people want to look at. A big reason that people fear or feel like they are lonely and that they can't connect to others is because they feel like they can't trust others, or they lack the abilities to interact with others, specifically the skills of assertiveness. When you feel like you can't trust people and you feel like you don't know how to be assertive around people, you can't be yourself around people, that makes you feel disconnected. So when you're alone, you're afraid to be around people because you feel like you don't have the skills. Does that make sense? And then even if you get an opportunity to be around people, or you are around people, you feel afraid. You're still afraid. You're still nervous. You're still in anxiety. Why? Because you don't have the skills, because you distrust people. So we may have to work on this concept. If we're distrusting people and we're distrusting ourselves, then we've just got ourselves caught in a nice little paradox where you're going to feel alone while you're by yourself. And then when you're around people, you still feel alone, or you feel afraid, you feel anxious, and you can't wait to be by yourself. And you're just kind of creating a paradox where you're always unhappy. So we got to break out of this paradox by learning the skills of assertiveness. I have assertiveness training videos for free on YouTube. Learn the skills. Become an assertive person. Understand what you need to do, how you need to handle yourself, how you need to talk to other people so that you're not aggressive, but you're also not passive, so that you can make sure your needs are met. It's your responsibility to develop these skills. Even if you didn't have parents that taught you, now's the time. Why? Because when we get rid of the fear of abandonment and we develop the skills for connection, now we no longer feel disconnected, because the disconnection was always a perception of the mind. And the perception of the mind came from the idea that we are alienated from mankind. We're alienated from other humans because we're just so different. We're just so alone. But when we realize we're just like everyone else, and we can choose to trust some people, and we can relax because we know how to be assertive if someone exposes themselves as toxic, we start to relax, start to feel more comfortable around people. And just the very aspect that we know we will be comfortable when we're around people helps us to feel connected even when we're not around people. So if you notice that you're getting these sensations, these thoughts of like, I'm alone, notice what your perceptions are. What are the thoughts that you're feeling? Well, I feel like I don't have anyone. I feel like I don't want to be alone. Why am I alone on the holidays? What did I do wrong to deserve this? I have no one. Maybe you can think of some other perceptions that you feel that are making you feel like you're alone. If you think of some, write them in the chat box for me. What are the perceptions you're feeling when you look around and it happens to be the holidays or any day, and you don't notice people, or you're not going to be getting together with family? What's making you feel like you are lonely as a result? What is the perception that comes from that? So for instance, if you're having the thoughts, why am I alone on the holidays? What did I do wrong? You have to recognize you didn't do anything wrong. It's actually could be that you're doing something right. It could be that now finally you are not pandering and kowtowing and bowing down to everyone in order to keep them in your life. Instead, you're just standing in your own power. So you're standing on your own. And so now being alone doesn't mean you have to be lonely. Being alone could mean that you can actually take care of yourself. And your exposure to this could help you to get over the fear of being alone. You didn't do anything wrong. It could be that you're actually doing something right. About the perception that you're not loved. Ask yourself, is that actually true? Is it actually true that nobody has ever loved me? No one has ever shown any love for me? Is it true that no one can love me? In most of our cases, we can think of examples of people who liked us that we didn't even like. But even if you say, well, I can't think of any examples of anyone who has ever liked me or ever loved me, make a list of your lovable qualities. And then after you analyze your lovable qualities, ask yourself a simple question. On paper, am I a lovable person? In my opinion, am I a lovable person? And you will see that you are. So regardless of whether someone is loving you or not, you are lovable. It's irrelevant what someone else does, because that is their responsibility to decide who they're going to be with, what they're going to do. You don't control other people, so you should not think about what other people are doing, what other people are thinking, what other people are feeling. You need to focus on the only thing you can control, which is what you're doing, thinking, and feeling. Does that make sense? When we are saying, well, nobody loves me, we're elevating their love, the love of another person, to this high worshipful standard, like this is all I need, another imperfect human being to bestow upon me their love, then I will matter. And all of that is false. It doesn't matter whether somebody loves you or they don't love you. Your lovableness is separate than someone else's actions. Don't focus on their actions and feelings. Focus on your own. Feeling unspecial. And you say, well, here I am alone. I'm on the holidays. I feel unspecial. This is a perception that you are creating. So since you're going to tell yourself a story, you might as well tell yourself a story that actually helps you, that actually makes you feel better. After all, would you look at your daughter and say, look at you. You are just so unspecial? No, that's verbal abuse. So if you wouldn't do that to your daughter, then why are you talking to yourself like that? If you were to even hear your subconscious mind suggest something damaging, such as you are unspecial, you must immediately fight back on that and say, hey, that's abusive. Come on. I am very special. And then list out examples, evidence of why you are actually very special. Or if you're feeling empty, or if you're looking around saying there's nobody here, nobody wants me, I feel empty. Again, you're giving yourself a perception. You are saying this is inadequate for me to be by myself. What gives us the feeling of being full or being empty? It is our perception. If you view another person as filling you, then you have a wrong perception of what another person is. Another person is a whole separate entity. They are not a part of you. They are not a completion of you. They are a whole nother person. So we must learn to change our perception of ourselves and view ourselves as whole, as complete, so that we do not feel empty. Are some of these thoughts helpful? Let's remember, we cannot control other people. So we have to get out of our mind concern about, they didn't invite me over, they don't want to be with me, they don't love me, they don't want me, I'm not wanted by anyone. All of that is not your concern. None of that is your job. Your job is to focus on yourself. What do you want? What do you actually need? Provide for yourself. Care for yourself like you are a child that's in your care, someone that you love. You might notice that you're neglecting yourself, thinking about everyone else on the holidays when you're actually alone, because you're actually supposed to be thinking about, what am I doing for myself today? Line up for yourself a nice little movie, a nice little dinner, a nice little something that you enjoy, so that you can actually enjoy your evening and get your perception off of the imaginary people that you're and the imaginary feelings that you're imagining that they're feeling. You can't read their feelings. You don't know what they're thinking. Remember that sense of connection that you're seeking and that people are telling you is so important is a perception of the mind. Jason thought he was connected, but he was connected to a man in Nigeria. He thought he was talking to his soulmate. He thought he was going to get married. The perception is that he was connected, but he was never connected, which goes to show the perception is just a perception. The connection is not an actual thing. Remember, you rejected those other people, not the other way around. You chose to be alone. So switch your self-talk. Remind yourself, I prefer to be alone than to be over with my family trying to please and appease them. I prefer to be alone for real than to be over there and be false and to be fake. Because when you're around liars, manipulators, narcissists, like, you always got to be fake, right? If at minimum you have to act like everything's cool when everything's not cool. I hate that feeling. I hate that feeling. That's why I don't hang out with narcissistic family members. I don't want to act like everything's cool. It's not cool. But I don't want to fight either. And so I'm not going to be false. So all I'm going to do if I'm there is point out that it's really not cool. And I'm going to speak up exactly the way I'm speaking up to you guys right now. And that's going to cause a fight with the narcissist. And then we're not going to enjoy ourselves. So it's better I just stay home by choice. We can be alone by choice. You are in the position of power. You ditched them. It's not the other way around. And remind yourself that you can actually be happy here rather than pretend to be happy there. I can actually be happy here by myself rather than go and pretend to be happy. Alter your beliefs. If you notice there's some childhood beliefs like, I can please everyone, I want everyone to like me, get those beliefs updated to the truth. You can't please everyone. No one is liked by everyone. If you notice that there's ways of thinking, self-talk that's negative, you're alone, you're worthless without anyone else, you need other people, switch that self-talk, something that builds yourself up. I'm here by choice. I don't need other people. I'm wanted by so many people, but I don't want to be with them right now. I want to watch my own little movie and eat my own little dinner right now. That's what I want to do. I'm doing what I want to do. I am powerful. I am capable. Give yourself the good, positive self-talk. And then finally, follow it up with actions. Take care of you. Make yourself a little something that you enjoy, or go out and buy some food that is your favorite meal. Care for yourself. Get the dessert this time. Care for yourself. Switch to the movies that you want to watch, or the television shows that you want to watch. Give yourself some you time. Do things that you enjoy. Take yourself on a trip. Take yourself on a vacation. Go for a drive. Go to the park, the museum, right? Do the actions that really show you that you're there for you. Don't abandon yourself anymore by trying to please another person. Fulfill your purpose. Reach to fulfill your potential. And whether it's a social constructed holiday or just a normal day, enjoy it by yourself. Because you can be alone without being lonely.